Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Gestalt podcast. Today, I want to discuss an interesting and maybe even intimate point, a soft skill. We can frame it as disagreement with humility or giving a productive, constructive feedback. This is a very underrated skill, but super useful to build healthy and productive relationship with people. It's all about how you respond to disagreement, because we naturally feel a need to express our opinion when we disagree. The point is how we do it. In this episode, we tackle exactly this. Will be interesting. And I'm Nik, software developer, a freelancer, a digital creator on LinkedIn. I'm here to learn things and to share my opinion about things. And hopefully, we find some common ground.
My name is Marius. I'm a psychologist and designer with studios in Berlin and Munich, and really looking forward to discussing this topic with Nik today.
Stay tuned and learn with us. Soft skills, they matter a lot in software development or design or any collaborative work. For freelancers or for employees in the company, this is a key to how people will work with you. Whether they will feel that you are adding value, that's a win for them, or whether they will feel, okay, you have a very strong opinion, but they are not comfortable how you handle that. And this soft skill, I think, is underrated. People don't get so much into the psychology behind this. This soft skill is called disagreement without offense. Okay? And the structure is how do you respond to certain idea, solution, whatever the other person provides to you. Could be maybe a contract, even a business requirement in some business relationships or so. And we see on the internet, Twitter, Reddit, or any other open forums, where people oftentimes try to naturally prove that they are right. Okay? And maybe that's fear. Maybe they are. Maybe they have better experience, or maybe their context in life fits to state that they are right. The point is, how do we communicate that? Changes everything. Changes your relationship with that people. Especially at the beginning, the first interaction that you do. So let me give you an example here to nail it down. For example, the designer communicates to the developer. The designer says, I designed these custom drop-downs to match our company's brand. Developer can respond to this in this way. You know, custom drop-downs, they break accessibility, and therefore it's a pain to maintain them. Just use native selects and we will be fine. You can notice in this response that developer who responds to the designer idea, to the designer solution, immediately criticizes this solution, immediately points a trade-off, which is reasonable, a lack of accessibility for custom drop-downs, in a way that this developer feels smarter. So, in other words, I feel I'm smarter than you. I consider accessibility, and you with your design didn't. And this is very offensive. Okay? The designer in general receiving such a response will feel uncomfortable, especially if it's first time interaction. The designer will feel like, okay, this guy is sure maybe smart, but he's offending me. He immediately put me down, considered like there is a hierarchy, and I'm, as a designer, feel like I'm lower in this hierarchy. That's how I pretended it psychologically as a designer, having such a response from a developer. This immediately sets a stage that the designer that received such a response, offensive response, hierarchy included response, will try to avoid communicating with such a developer, because he will be feeling afraid to be put down again. You know, the designer has brilliant ideas and will be afraid to share these ideas with that developer because he will feel the developer again will find something that will put the designer down, that will make sure that the solution is terrible, that idea is bad, and so forth. And as I said, and maybe it makes sense, in such a response, there was some, let's say, important thing, accessibility. That might be the designer didn't consider that when designing a custom dropdown. And that's fine. We cannot be like perfect at everything. Important is how the developer communicated it back. And I'll listen to a better response. Oh, these dropdowns looks great. But one thing to consider, custom dropdowns can be tricky for keyboard users and screen readers. And nowadays accessibility matters a lot. How about we explore styling a native approach that way, so it looks like our corporate brand? The direction will be visually matching, but the implementation will be way simple and hopefully fulfill the accessibility needs. So you see, this response does the same thing. It kind of criticizes that there is a lack of accessibility for a dropdown, but the communication is very different, you know, because we are offering to consider something. We are challenging here without putting somebody down. Okay? And there are many examples I can give, and I will give a bit later. But what's your opinion on that, Marius?
Yeah, nice. Probably this situation you've heard a few times as a developer from the design team. We've seen it from the other side as designers or business teams, business leads, otherwise involve people in the process. It happens very fast, right? Like you're in the moment, things come in. We had like Friday, we had Christmas, we had the holidays. Lots of things have to move fast. And then we say those things. We probably also hear them very often. Last time we talked about social media, how people are not always so very honest. Just a few weeks ago, there was this discussion about like hiring people, hiring process, machine learning AI involved. And what's interesting and what I think, I thought about this for quite a bit, how to frame it better. It's like a few traps you always step into, like you say, okay, I think, or you make more of a declaration. So you say, this is how it is. And you just brought up a good point, I think, right? So I'm saying this as well. I'll do it a few more times. But it's a context, and that is so different, I think, from how we learned to say things. Because we went to school, we went to university, we always bring this up, a certain culture that we see this is working. And now, out of a sudden, so we just mentioned Brazilian football, German football, and all these different cultures clash. So we are in context of German accessibility standards. There are lots of things to discuss. But going away from this declaration and making it a discussion, that's a really nice change to make, because now you offer some ideas and you're not just saying, okay, this is wrong, this is right, we have to do it that way. So that, I think what he just offered is a really nice way to approach it in a different way. You start talking together and you start working on a solution together.
Yeah, that's the point, because the idea when you communicate with somebody is to produce some productive outcome, some reasonable thing, plus hopefully invest in your both future by making everybody included, feel good working with you, and improve their knowledge, because your contexts are very different. You know something from your life experience. The other person knows some other things from there, and therefore the idea is to collaborate in a healthy way. So people want to continue this. People feel value from you. Okay?
Yeah.
Interesting side note here. If you want to win fans on social media, this approach will turn this super intensively for you. Because people are used to expose their egos on social media. On social media, people don't see each other. People feel more confident to hit straight to the point, to put down other people, even maybe they naturally don't recognize that. But whenever you see some idea somebody shared, and in your context, you see that there are significant trade-offs to this idea, disadvantages, you immediately feel a need, if you participate in social media, to correct that. Okay?
Just
and you correct
engagement.
it in this way, in enforcement way. So kind of you are attacking the author of this idea. Okay? You think this is wrong, this is why, and this is right. Okay? And this where most of the comments actually on social media have. Many people, many thought readers on social media tell oftentimes, stay positive. That's important skill. That's important necessity on social media. But what it does mean, stay positive on social media when you participate, when you discuss, engage, comment, and so. And this is exactly that. How you formulate your response to people. Believe me or not, but actually, I made an audience of followers on LinkedIn a lot because of this. There are people who write on social media. I'm experienced developer, and they share developer tips. And I see oftentimes that there are lack of consideration of something that I know that needs to be addressed within their tip solution idea. And my natural intention is to correct it like everybody else. Okay?
Yeah.
The point is how I formulate that. If I formulate it that in a way that this is useful for them, they immediately opens up for me. They are like, okay, interesting opinion. Actually, he gave a good point. Let me discover this more. Let me search or ask AI about that in more details to figure it out. Let me see who is this person. Let me visit his profile, and maybe I will follow him to see what he says further. So this is the term. Example could be somebody writes on social media and gives example. I added an error handling using try-catch block through the checkout flow. That's programming context. And I could reply in two ways. I immediately see, okay, I want to correct that. How to correct it? A bad way. Try-catch everywhere is an anti-pattern. You should be using error boundaries. This is going to be a nightmare to maintain so many try-catch statements. This is a bad approach. So I found it. I immediately corrected the solution. People will be, okay, let's stay away from that. The good response that I could give that will win a fan for me, another follower. Nice work on the error handling. Have you considered error boundaries? They might simplify this since React can catch errors at the component level. Want me to share a more detailed example?
Nice.
So, look, this is a good approach. This encourages them to discover what I mean with the error boundary in React. This gives them a value, an opportunity to learn. Plus, I offer them help, whether should I share with them a code snippet with example, if they need. So they will turn my followers afterwards. Even without me posting, I'm just commenting and getting people to like my way of communication. This works superbly on social media if you want to get followers or audience or fans, whatever. But this also works at work, at business. It actually works everywhere in your relationships with anybody, you know. The point is, you are right that you naturally want to correct somebody. That's totally okay. We all are this, and we have experience in certain way better than others. But we need to communicate differently. We need to communicate to win that person, to make that person on your side, to make that person feel useful on their own, plus giving an opportunity to explore and learn something new. So yeah, Marius, if you want to increase your LinkedIn followers, this is a strategy. You don't even need to create posts on your own. You could just do commenting and you will grow.
Nice examples. It's very proactive, like to show open up a discussion. And it's so nice. That's why I really appreciate this time we spent together here, like discussing things, and why I became such a big fan of podcasts. At the beginning, I was very critical about this, as two people sharing something within a context. But compared to a comment, it's kind of funny. I was just thinking about this person, sitting there writing their comment. There's this really funny ad. I'll link it later where this happens. And it's very amplified just by it sitting there alone. You have a subconscious communication, getting super angry about this, and then the other person replies. So keeping that in mind, I think, is so much easier to make your life better. This always happens also like on Slack, you're on Slack in your team or teams wherever you work, or on a messenger with your family or friends relationship. So and then the question is what you just mentioned, which is an interesting point, I think. What do you want to achieve? So there's like 3 psychological things I was thinking about while you were mentioning the examples. One you also said before is like there's classics in terms of communication, like Rosenberg, for example. Great book to get back to about communication. More recent ones were, which was a really cool book to read. It's a few years old, Irrationally Rational, like how humans behave. And that one was funny. So I took quite a bit of our business practice from that book. So he's coming to this point where he's having 2 groups to test a certain behavior. And he lets people fold like origami animals. Yeah. So the one group is like, okay, I'm folding these. I give you like an instruction how to do it. You do a very nice chronic, like a very nice bird. And then the other group has to value that work. So Nik creates one, and then I get it. And I say like, okay, how much is this worth? So it's funny to see that people were like, this is not so valuable. It's just a piece of paper, maybe €1.50. And then they also have to do the same thing. Then they have to fold it. And then it's like, no, the value of this is at least €10. It takes a lot of work, You have to understand certain things. And then both groups did that. So they gained the experience from the other person, what they had to do. And they interacted with each other. And that's an approach now I call kind of a key approach to our projects, where when you offer very high polished services where people expect like, okay, this is a super high class interior couch, like you're moving now, you want to buy a very expensive one. Of course, you expect the other person to deliver something good, right? This was very expensive. You have no clue how this works, but you will comment and say, oh, there's a scratch. No, this is not the color that I wanted. Kind of like you said on your comments. And learning from this group experiment is kind of funny because involving your clients is great. Like, they can also bring up, say like, okay, maybe we put the bike here or we put the product there. And out of a sudden you have you have communication, you have collaboration. It's a bit more flat in hierarchy. You work as a team. And the third thing I wanted to mention is kind of like how you use words. It's nice. Like you just prepared those examples. And there are certain keywords which you can just skip. There's like, this is defined, this is right, this is wrong. Because there are so many cultures now working together. Like you come from a very different background than I do. All these people in the team, the product is in Germany, wherever. So yeah, there's a third thing which feels like it's very good to do. Like you don't really judge a lot and maybe try to be a bit more open. So yeah. Yeah. Well, it's very cool that you brought this up. And I think very good advice for social media to talk that way. Yeah.
Yeah, everywhere in life. So yeah, you put up good points and these three things you mentioned.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. We want to have productive collaboration. We want to have a relationship which are sustainable, which are not just a project only driven or a value only driven. We want to feel friendly, but still expose our strong opinion about something if we have.
Yeah. Which is also totally fine, right? Like maybe you want to defend something or you feel offended by something. Yeah. You brought up this topic of like humility in terms of those discussions. Yeah, we'll be curious to hear. Like you have a lot of experience, right? You worked also in startups, you worked in bigger companies, with other companies together as a freelancer. Did you have like some moments where you thought yourself, oh, okay, like I did this, and it really was kind of like a key moment where you then really changed your behavior?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think I was at some point in my career, when I became kind of experienced and I made many projects throughout the years, and I started to see people who are joining the industry, joining the profession, and they make these mistakes and they don't consider the larger context that I already know, I was rude, I would say, communicating my strong opinion that this should be done differently, and using this word that you mentioned, wrong, incorrect, and so forth. But within time, I started to participate in LinkedIn a few years ago, and I realized that I received this feedback often.
Mhm.
So
Interesting.
on social media, people respond a lot in such a way, in the bad way, and I'm receiving this even every time I post, or there's something that is like that. But now I'm resilient to this, and I try to still instruct some constructivity from that, and even reply in a good way back. Even the initial response was offending.
Mm-hmm.
So in general, yeah, I realize that I need this to change this, how I express my strong opinion, my experienced opinion, my senior position.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that by observing how I talk and whether what I respond would offend me if I would be the author of initial idea, solution,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So I would say that to learn this skill, the humility with in regards to disagreement, you need to observe what you respond.
Mm-hmm.
You need to spend a bit more time than just naturally writing where your ego will be dominating.
Yep.
You will write back, or before you speak, you think a bit about that, and then you try to hopefully make sure that your response is good.
Mm.
And for that, Marius, there is a structure. So in the examples that I already shared, and I can share even more, they all follow a standard structure. Let's unveil that. The response starts with acknowledgement. It could be an appreciation, something like try catch block is fine for error handling, so your solution is good. Nice work, nice effort on doing this that way. Okay. It could be these custom dropdowns actually look great. So this could be appreciation at the beginning, or sometimes it could be a validation or finding a common ground. Okay. So you need to give some kind of warm starting point. Appreciation works the best here. Then it follows with the trade-off you expose. This is a disadvantage that you want to explain back, where you introduce your context, where you introduce alternatives, where you try to fulfill missing information. For example, one thing to consider, custom dropdowns can be tricky for keyboard users. Okay? You immediately expose a trade-off in a way that is not offensive. Or, yeah. And the last, the closing one, is two things. Whether you offer help, you could say, okay, do you need a code snippet that I could share you an example with? Or do you want to, we have a call and I share with you some details and show you how it could work the different way? Or it could be a statement that opens an opportunity for the author to learn more. It could be a provocating question that challenges the knowledge of the author, or just a statement that helps the author to think, okay, actually, I didn't consider that. So let me learn on my own about this. Okay. So this structure, acknowledgement, the best is appreciation. You start, then you expose your trade-off, your context, the disadvantage you want to point to. And then you offer help. That's collaboration, invitation. Or you put the statement in such a way that it challenges the other person. This is a framework or a structure of this good response. And you can use it whenever you want to give a response back to somebody. Whenever you are in a meeting and you hear something and you want to expose it, think about these 3 points: appreciation or acknowledgement, the trade-off, and then invitation for collaboration. And then formulate that. It will be very helpful because within time, your muscle, your brain will train to do just that. So you will change forever. Your response in a meeting to somebody in person, in life, on social media will change forever, for good. It will be a win-to-win for everybody because you fulfilled your ego. You exposed your smart opinion about something. You did that. So you will feel good. You didn't hold that within yourself, just not responding completely. And the other person will get a lot of value from you because the other person will feel uplifted with your appreciation. Okay, actually, custom dropdowns are good. He said so. Yeah, makes sense. But accessibility. Right, let me investigate that.
Although it's so funny, I'm laughing there. Many people will listen and say like, yes, I noticed this. Gotcha. Yeah. Super nice framework, especially over time when you practice with this. For me, when I started, in the beginning, you always have this instinct. We will close in a bit, right? Nice conclusion. But these moments with your friends and the people who have this instinct of instantly wanting to connect, they interrupt you and it's like, yes, I know the same situation. I want to share this as well. Like you're very quick to respond. And I think the more you learn and take time, of course, if you have a topic where you're very well experienced, a lot, to try this out and take the time to listen to the other person, not just apply the framework and say like something nice, do the sandwich of nice, bad, good, and then just it's done. But basically really engaging in that discussion is so much fun. So yeah, also something I think we've grown here over the last 10 episodes. Yeah.
Maybe that's let's say we can again reframe this skill, this soft skill to disagreeing with humility, or we could rephrase it to giving constructive feedback on something. Important is that we lower the defenses, so the other person doesn't have to feel that it needs to defend anyhow. So we don't establish the relationship that somebody is enemy and somebody is not.
Yeah.
Plus, when we communicate the trade-off, the disadvantage that actually triggered us to respond in general, we are not trying to say in any other way that you are wrong. And then we try to turn that person into a partner in solving something together. So let's give some more examples. For example, a business example. We need this feature live by Friday for the campaign launch. We have a marketing campaign already set up. You could respond to that. That's impossible. You should have told us earlier. This needs proper testing and will be buggy otherwise. This is a developer's team response to, let's say, business people. Or you could respond better. Friday is tight, given testing needs to be done. What if we launch a simple version on Friday that covers the whole campaign needs and then slightly enhance it next week? Then we don't miss the launch and everybody will feel good.
Nice. This is also a discussion that's very likely in the top 5 in any e-commerce team. Yeah.
Another example. Can we add real-time collaboration like Google Docs, but to our app? A bad response. That's months of work with WebSockets. conflict resolution, the whole 9 yards. It will take a lot of time and stress to implement that. Let's not do that. The good response. Real-time collaboration would be powerful things. But that's a significant architectural lift we have to make. New technologies like WebSocket, syncing login, and so forth. What's the core problem our users are hitting without having that? Maybe there could be a lighter solution that gets 80% of the users covered. So you see, I tried with this response to encourage the business for discovery, to look at alternatives. Okay? And there are many examples I have farther on here prepared. I will try to stick them in the description of this episode. You could read through them. They will be explicitly good, bad. And I try to come up with examples that fits developer and designer and business people in between these three roles, communication. And you will see how it works. As well, I will share the structure of the 3 points that we unveiled today. To close this is important thing in your career, in your life, to learn this skill. The skill that is underrated, and people normally don't consider learning that and don't even aware that this exists. People naturally are triggered by expressing their opinion when they disagree, and that's fine. The key is how. Whether you make a win-to-win relationship with people by sharing a value with them, by pointing to your disagreement, but at the same time uplifting and giving opportunity to get better. Or you purely criticize. 2 different approaches how to build a relationship with people. You choose yours.
Great. Thanks a lot, Nik. I love the examples he gave. Well, probably everybody knows one of those when you work in tech. Oh, thanks a lot for sharing these.
Cool. Thank you for recording this with me, Marius, today.
Pleasure. It was nice. Thank you, Nik. Good start to the year to come up with new discussions that are more like the examples he gave. Hopefully more of the good ones than the bad ones.